What kinds of athletes are actually pretty unhealthy? Pro wrestlers, they almost always have some kind of injury when they are wrestling, and there are plenty of instances of relatively early deaths. I know fighters are in good shape, but when it comes to making their weight class, they get extremely unhealthy, dehydrating and sometimes starving themselves to cut lbs before a fight, sometimes losing a crazy amount of weight in a very short period time for the weigh-in, and then going back to their normal weight by the time the fight starts. World-class darts players just look like your standard patron at a British pub. Sumo wrestlers have a much lower life expectancy than the average. Coming from this world myself, most professional bodybuilders are incredibly unhealthy. Every single bloke entering unnatural competitions are on copious amounts of gear that will alter their natural functions if not kill them. The amount of bodybuilders suddenly dying of a heart attack is not a coincidence. Ballet dancers. Whilst they may live the same lifespan, you should see some of the damage to the toes and feet it can cause. My auntie loved ballet. Her toes and feet are ruined and look horrific. Gymnasts and dancers. I'm going to group high-level ballet and such with athlete. It's profoundly physically demanding can be. The potential for serious, life-altering injuries is high. Women especially are expected to be very strict about their weight and body composition, because they have to be tiny for the length of their career. Eating disorders are 10 times more common in dancers than in other women of comparable age. Depends on what you mean by healthy. If you consider life after retirement, I'd think powerlifters, football linemen, and pro wrestlers must have a lot of physical problems later in life with both pain and weight management. I would say ballet dancers. People may not immediately think of them as athletes, but they are. They have intense training and wear and tear on feet and legs, have a lot of strength, and have high rates of injury over the years. In addition, having to maintain weight at certain levels. NFL linemen. They are asked to put in weight, and it's not in the healthiest way, and diet quality of life after playing sucks. Not to mention the damage to their brains and bodies. Most elite athletes are unhealthy in the sense that they push their bodies very hard, which leads to a bunch of problems down the road. Exercising regularly is healthy. Being an elite athlete is not. You may have great cardio and general fitness, but you are burning your body candle from both ends. Dancers and gymnasts. I dance competitively, and the amount of people I know who have fucked their joints is ridiculous. And they're all just kids too, so a lot of them will have issues their whole lives. A lot of sports require you to push your body beyond healthy limits. It's about being able to do things in your sport that few others can. A number of top athletes, even the ones who don't suffer career-ending injuries, can end up with muscles, ligaments, etc. that just don't work as well as the average person's. Darts. Jockeys. Pretty much every professional athlete. They take it too far. Elite athletes need increased screening for even mild heart defects due to much higher risk from sudden cardiac arrest. That's not unhealthy per se, but it's an increased risk. Any sport that requires you to use your head in any way can probably cause concussions and brain damage, especially bad in NFL and rugby and combat sports. Everyone I've known who did high-level sports as a teen has fucked up knees. Gymnastics especially destroys knees. Bowlers. Dancers. I did very competitive ballet and it wrecked my body. Worked out 6 to 7 days a week all year. Lost periods. Starving for shows. Mentally fucked from my Russian teacher always screaming at us. All I have to show for it now is horrendous feet with bunions and no cartilage from the waist down. Professional eater? Bodybuilders. Competitions designed to cripple them to the point that walking hurts, literally. Wrestlers. Constantly binging or starving to hit the right weight. Baseball players up till I guess the 2000s. I'm not an athlete, lady. I'm a baseball player. John Kruk. Everything taken to the extreme of pro level is unhealthy. Esport athletes don't look too healthy. Some competitive shooters' firearms I know aren't too healthy looking either. Many cyclists are killed or seriously injured by motor vehicles whilst training. Footballers and rugby players have increased risk of brain trauma due to heading the ball repeated collisions. Boxers as well. Obviously. Anyone who uses PEDs varies with sport. Boxers have the most dangerous profession, I think. NFL football players have a life expectancy just under 60 years. Being that huge and heavy and taking that many hits to the body is not healthy. Me, I eat lots of junk and do Netflix marathon. Football, soccer and rugby players often suffer head traumas. Bodybuilders, strongmen. Darts players and snooker players. Competitive hot dog eaters. Darts. You can drink and smoke and still play at world-class level. Gymnast. Usually women starve themselves from very young ages, often delaying the onset of puberty. Their mental health is also horrible due to isolation of the sport and the rampant abuse of many coaches that is left unchecked. Bodybuilders. It's not the healthy kind of fit by any means. Anything extreme is usually super unhealthy. Bodybuilders. They do so many unnatural things to their bodies. It's insane. Eating a fuck ton of food and then starving themselves in a cycle. Getting down to body fat percentages so low. Parts of their bodies just stop working for a bit. Not to mention steroids. Shit is unhealthy AF. Dart athletes. Powerlifters. Bodybuilders. Honesty, any athlete that exclusively lifts heavy weights. Usually they do not perform much cardio, so they probably have high blood pressure problems to add on that. Many of them use steroids. Sumo wrestlers seem to have a lot of belly fat, which doesn't look healthy. If we're including brain health, professional football players. They are extremely physically fit, but the percentage who keep playing with TBICTE is absolutely insane. So sad how pro leagues let that go on for so long. Although it seems like the NFL is taking better steps now at prevention and treatment. Sumo wrestlers. Can't tell me those fat bastards are healthy. Sumo wrestlers. Gymnasts. Their growth is stunted. NFL players get CTE. Bodybuilders. Golfers can certainly be. Golf is a sport that it's possible to smoke while you play. Bodybuilders. Eating shit tons of calories. Many times taking huge concoctions of pills, supplements, even steroids. Blowing out your knees, back, etc. Sumo wrestlers have a significantly lower life expectancy. Sumo wrestlers and female gymnasts. Bowlers. Darts players. Bodybuilders. Formula One drivers used to starve themselves to make themselves, and therefore the car, as light as possible. There's since been a rule change which means that if the driver is below 80 kilograms, they have to add ballast to make them up to that weight anyway, to try and stop them putting themselves through that. Sumo wrestlers, bodybuilders and powerlifters. As our guy Rich Piana once said, 300 pounds of fat or 300 pounds of muscle. The heart can't tell the difference. Rip, rest in Piana. Sumo wrestlers. Knowing Donald Trump is one, I'd say golfers. Esports athletes.